We're all capable. We already know everything we need to know. We've always like have known it and we've always been it. It's just quieting the noise and understanding that it's literally just a battle of love and fear.
Today, I have the very, very distinct pleasure of having Geraldine, or Ger Carriere, with me on Make Break. Thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. This is
My
exciting.
pleasure. Yeah, it is actually. We are very transparent and open here at V13, so you and I have spoken extensively prior to this. You and I have worked a great deal together on a number of different things, and there's so many different things that you have. And I feel like most other people, the creatives that I have on, I have to I can very simply and succinctly introduce what they do. But for you, you've got like an entire, it's like an ecosystem around you. But it's so true because like there's so much that you do, and you're the exact type of person who does not sit and rest on any laurels whatsoever. Is that fair to say?
I would say that that's very accurate. And as a radio host producer mentioned, I don't think there's an off button for you. So I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing.
It's true. So let's go through some of the stuff that you do. So first of all, I know you because you are a musician.
Hmm.
And of course, not just like one specific style. Of course, you've just got to like have every genre on display. So you got like pop, jazz, 80s vibes.
Yeah. So, I mean, let me just start right from the top with my spiel. So, whenever I meet anybody, it is hi. And again, for the preface of this podcast, I'm going to do it the proper way, which is to introduce myself is Esquel Asuniwa Chikawiget, which means the woman that lives in the mountains. And that is from my Cree language. And I always like to declare that I am Indigenous first because it was illegal to be Indigenous at one point. Like there was systematic governmental rules that went into place to abolishing my people. And the fact that I'm still here is a accomplishment in and of itself. But to be who I am today and the purpose, the responsibility that I carry with me is very important to me. So I like to pay homage to the people who have sacrificed and compromised for me to be here. So of course, I always like to pay homage to that. I am Cree from Cumberland House Cree Nation, which is located in northern Saskatchewan. It's the first fur trade post, oldest settlement in Saskatchewan, the biggest man-made marsh in the world. And it's a very isolated community. It's like a one road in dirt road, labeled the worst road in North America, by the way. And that's where I come from. And of course, if that's not it, enough stuff, I like to introduce myself as being a serial entrepreneur. So what that means is that I am a international speaker, a best-selling author, a life and business coach, a CEO and founder of my company, which is called Wild Women Personal and Professional Development, and of course, a recording artist to just give you a little sprinkle of the things that are the joys of Ger. But I do have what I call an elevator pitch. And so I, Geraldine Carriere, the founder of Wild Women Personal and Professional Development, I help women, especially Indigenous women and creative leaders, awaken their power, reclaim their voice, and lead with purpose. Through coaching, speaking, and my book, Wild Woman, Master the Art of Pride, Presence, and Productivity, I blend spirit, story, and strategy to transform lives and empower one woman at a time. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love that. I mean, you have to be a speaker, you have to have it down pat. You need to be able to just like, boom. I need to just access this part of it, which I love. And I mean, God help you if you had to like let me be the one to introduce. I would be like still working on like the fourth.
Honestly, it's problemsome because they have to like it feels like they're rolling out a scroll, right? And I'm sitting in the backstage and it's like a bull ready to like hit the stadium, right? Like I'm just, come on, come on. And I'm like, okay, come on, Ger. Like you got to be able to condense that in some way. But it hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet.
I mean, well, it's and that's the thing is like you necessity is the mother of all invention. Like you're gonna have sometimes I'll like do the same sort of like introductions that I've been doing for ages, and then all of a sudden, what'll come flying out of my mouth? I'm like, whoa, I think I need to capture that because that was like way cleaner. But like even what you just did is like, wow, that like summarizes it so perfectly. Amazing. Because like you're no stranger. Like you said, you're a serial entrepreneur, author, musician, speaker. I mean, and I'm not being funny. You're also like performer in general. Like the entire creative gamut of like dancing, singing, acting, musical theater. Like
Yeah.
no
It's
boxes left unticked.
what do they call that? Like a triple threat, but it's like a I don't even know what the, like,
You know
not to
what's
toot
funny?
my own horn, but like, yeah, I get that
I
beat.
actually had I actually had this. So like I was writing about Kat Von D, another lady who has a lot of the same like spread of different things, and it's called. And this took me a while to figure out, but a multi hyphenate because you have so many hyphens to all the different things that you do.
Hmm.
So I kind of love that because like it does speak to. I mean, I would love to just be able to pursue all the different things, and I kind of have with my own stuff. But like, I think that that's like where I want to start with it because like, in order to like make anything of substance, you have to believe in it and love it. I mean, that's me assigning that value. But like for you, I wonder like, have people said like you should break it down to just like one thing and only make that one thing? Have you been told to niche down and confine yourself?
I have been told many things, and the thing that I've been told the most is to be humble, to stay humble, to like it's almost like people are uncomfortable with people who have a level of conviction and self-worth and value themselves and know that what they have is it's detrimental to humankind, if you will, right? Like, and again, I say I make jokes a lot. You'll get to know me during this podcast, but for those who don't know me, like I do like to poke the bear, and I like to rattle the chains, and I like to make noise, and I want to invoke feeling inside of you and some type of emotion because then you know that it matters to you, right? So yes, people have said a lot of things to me, like I should niche down, I should be this thing. And the only thing I could break it down to was that I'm wild, right? And this is funny because I actually, the whole idea came from a friend of mine that I once knew. And, you know, him and I were talking about all the things, and he goes, wow, like you're a wild woman. Um, and I was like, yeah, I am a wild woman. And at that time, I didn't know, like, I didn't know how to take it because it was like, is he like being offensive, saying, you know? And to me, it was just like, no, I like to take things that are offensive or you know, that aren't as comfortable. And I like to take those and coin them for myself because I'm like, things only have power that you give to them. And to me, I like things like savages. I like things like Indian. I like things that are like squaw and all the negative stuff. I'm like, absolutely, I'll take it. Like, that's my ammunition. I'm ready for it. Like, let's make something beautiful out of all of this stuff. Because for me, like I said, things only have power to hurt you if you let them have them. And so, when people are like, hey, you need to be one thing and be one thing. And I'm like, no, I don't subscribe to those type of mentalities because we are ever evolving. Who I was 5 minutes ago is not who I'm going to be right now. And in 5 minutes, the same thing, right? So you have to allow the evolvement of who you are becoming and who you're intended to be because who I was when I was 15 could never even have the idea that I would be here right now, right? So to me, who people who have limited ideas on things, and again, they're trying to be helpful, right? Like it's not to say that they're trying to, you know, put you in a box or whatever, but it's like when you know that other people's floors or people's ceilings are your floors, you simply thank you, but I'm going to continue because again, I recognize that there's multiple dualities playing in all at the same time, and all of those should be respected. So I didn't feel the need to fall into those things because for me, I allow all of the messy, ugly stuff to kind of come forth with the beautiful and the graceful and the tactful. So, yeah, I was advised a lot of times to, niche and be very focused. But for me, I'm not a niched person. I am multifaceted and wild and contradictory, and that I let myself be that. And I think other people should do that as well.
And that's just it. Like, I don't feel any great pressure to sort of, quote unquote, act a certain way. Being someone who is Indigenous and a woman, like, I'm going to go out and I'll limb and say, perhaps that's not been your experience. Would you, how would you definitely characterize your experience with that, though, in terms of, like, not just niching for your creative output, but like as your part of your identity or identities, what have you,
Mhm.
in your own words, how would you feel like you would characterize that experience?
Wow, like I would definitely there's a bunch of stuff that are coming to play with that question. But if
That's a
I were
big
to
one, sorry.
it is, but it's great. I think a lot of it is like the underdog, the one left out, the misunderstood. Like there's an Apple commercial. I don't know if anybody knows about it. I think it's Think Different. And it shows like all of the big change makers. Like I don't even remember. It's like the Apple and astronauts and, all the incredible people who changed our history of time are basically being featured in this black and white commercial. And then at the end of it, like you just have this like feeling of like, wow, wow, and it's Think Different. And that's what it was. They were the rebels. They were the outsiders. They were ones who didn't comply or fit in. They defied everything that, everybody said that you should be like or do to be accepted or valued or whatever it was. And that's exactly how I felt. Growing up, I didn't grow up in my home community, so I didn't have a lot of people who looked like me. I grew up mostly in urban settings. So, of course, I was the little dirty Indian in the room. It's funny to me. It is funny to me because I'm just like, okay, well, because I subscribe to these things, right? Like I thought that's who I was. And so I put a lot of emphasis on what people told me I was and not what I knew to be true for me. Because again, I didn't have a lot of examples. I didn't have ideas to pull from. So growing up in a society where you were less than and treated differently because of the color of your skin, rolling up to school and, kindergarten and kids making fun of you because you have snow in your hair because you have like lice and like it's just really interesting the things that have happened to me that formed my worldview of how different I was and how I had to fight harder to be accepted and to be valued. It really shaped who I was, but I think in all of that I carried that because it gave me a fire to know that other people probably feel like this too. And other people obviously are hurting and are perpetrating and carrying those cycles on that they've learned from their homes or, so again, you can't blame them for, their ignorance or the things that they do because this is just learned behavior and it's not who they are. And you have to really be able to detach the behavior from the individual. And so, now that I'm an adult and I see that stuff and I'm like, oh, wow, that was really awful that, kids can be so cruel. But I put on a thick skin very, very young. I built a armor around myself and really withdrew. And even though things would hurt me, I would never let anybody have a reaction out of me because to me, that would be them winning me, right? And so I kind of made my own world and kind of withdrew until I was prepared to kind of come forth and show who I really was, if you will. And I think at this age now and where I'm at, I'm finally at that place where I feel safe to actually even peek my head out and be like, hey, what's going on out here? And it's safe now to show up as, the little Ger that has been waiting for a long time to be able to say, do, and be that version of myself. So it's been a long road and journey to get here. But yeah, again, I've always been, again, just very misunderstood, very invisible, very like there wasn't a lot expected of me, is how I'll put it. Societally, in my family, as a woman, as an Indigenous woman, like there's so many things that I had to take on and fight against and survive. And I think those things just added to the humility and the integrity of the person that I am and who I'm serving. So again, I take great responsibility for being able to serve and be the leader that I am today. So.
And that's the thing, is like you're leading by, first of all, honoring your own identity, truth, spirit, and direction and vision. And also blazing a trail in a way, because representation matters. And the more that we see, the more that it's true. And so I wonder, what examples have you seen that has been true, either for you or for the results that you're creating for others in your community?
Wow. So again, another crazy question, but it's a good one. And I think for me, like I only had examples of things I didn't want to be like. And that's kind of crazy to say. Of course, I loved my mom and she was brilliant and fabulous. And, she was the strongest, most innovative person I knew. Like she could make something out of nothing. And we come from very humble beginnings. Like we had to, escape from very, not so good situations, and she would make it happen, and she would always find a way. And in that space, even through my own hurt and pain, I didn't understand, but now I look at it and I'm like, that was badass. Like she is a wild woman, and I learned from the best woman there is, right? And then from my dad, he was a champion dog musher at like 7 years old. I don't know if you know what dog mushing is, but it's like that's dog sled racers. So he was an
Okay,
actual,
so that's what I thought, but yeah, so he was a
yeah,
champion
so
at that.
he was a champion at 7 years old, come from a family of athletes, and like he was good at everything. So all sports, kind of had this big ego that I have that I kind of pull from. And it's a good thing because I mean, he's very charismatic, can connect with anybody, makes everybody laugh. So I take a lot of my personality from him, but a lot of my business from my mom, like that stern, that strict, that like, you got to work hard. And so again, from both of my
Discipline.
parents, it was just a good amalgamation of like the best parts of my parents, right? So I got to pay homage to them. But again, outside of that, there wasn't a lot of people that I saw around me because again, I was very isolated in an urban setting, just with me and my close family. When I started to kind of get into my adolescence was when I grew to learn about other people. So like it's funny, my dad says that I used to sing before I even talked. So I'd be just this little wee thing walking around the house, just humming music. And, like I really loved Cyndi Lauper apparently. And my nickname back home is Lopsy. I don't know how they got that from there. Probably the dyslexia. But yeah, that's my nickname. So when I go home, nobody calls me Ger or Gerald, it's Lopsy. And I got called that this weekend and I was like, yay, it still exists.
Nice.
But yeah, so music, I think, was always inside of me. It was an expression, it was a feeling, it was something that really, I think, was the spirit of me. But then as I grew older, I then came upon, like Tupac Shakur, who to me was like, wow. Like I remember I used to have to go and get my braces tightened like every, like, I think it was month. And I'd have like my little Walkman listening to like, Are You Still Down? And it was just like driving. I had 5 hours each way to drive every day to get my braces tightened. And it
Wow.
would Tupac every time. And it was just like the storytelling and, the fact of like the poverty and the feeling alone and not feeling understood, and how society depicts that you are like some type of monster and that you just can't win and everything is kind of rigged against you. And it was somebody who spoke my heart out for me that I couldn't even understand myself. Like there was such a he understood my pain and he could speak it out for me to like clearly understand. And he like really taught me a lot about myself. And just his way of being in the world and how like cutthroat he was and very like no bullshit. I love that. I was like, yes, that's who I'm going to be. That's the type of learner that I want to be like, who is no bullshit and like, this is what it is and deal with it. Right. So I hope that I'm like that too. And then we had people like Prince. Um, Same thing, very unapologetic. I don't care if you like the way that I look. I don't care if you like the way I sing. I know I'm great and, I'm going to flaunt it. Essentially was what I got from Prince. Love him to death. Like I always tell people, if you had a person and you cut them in half, half would be Prince and half would be me. So that's just, I love him to death. And then outside of that, like Tina Turner, like, come on, Tina Turner, like the badassery, sexy, very like, I hope we can swear on here. Can we
You
swear?
can. Permission
Like,
granted.
I'm gonna fuck you up, right? Just that attitude of fierceness. And again, the unapologetic, you're gonna deal with it sense that she had. And then after that, it would have been Shania Twain, because again, just the beauty, the grace, the storytelling, the heartbreak, just the glamour of Shania. But all of them are badasses. All of them are, people that had a great sense of themselves and put it on display. I think that there's a lot of beauty in that, and that's who I wanted to emulate to be like, because for me, there's beauty in the ugliness and in the raw and the unfiltered. And that's, what I want my legacy to be, is that I also give permission to other people to also be that version of themselves in the world.
And that's, yeah, so that is phenomenal in terms of both a really good, like, solid answer and like a kind of like survey almost of like your influences as well, but it also ties in directly to the question of agency. And so that's something that I find really interesting about, like, it's so easy to grouse about like industry and how tough it is between me and guys that look like me, let's say, right? But then if you just take a step outside of yourself, talk to people that don't look and sound like you. I know it's crazy. And like assume that you don't know every person's lived experience just for a second. I think that it's not outside of the realm of possibility that the question of agency isn't nearly as solidified and taken, assumed. For others, it's about, you do need a permission slip. And yes, I have felt the need for me to have a permission slip before. I think that the stakes are different in your case. And in terms of a permission slip, was there ever a moment in your life where you either had it given to you, you had to take it, or you had to give it internally, in terms of you expressing creatively?
Wow. There's been a lot, but I think one of the biggest ones specifically for me was in high school. My school would send us to these conferences, and this one in particular was called the Forum for Young Canadians. And so basically it was like a week at Parliament Hill, because again, remember, I'm Ger Carriere. Like I was the kid in school who would keep everybody in their seats because I would be questioning and like clarifying the teacher to be like, so what is this in accordance to? Like, what am I supposed to be learning here? Like, who wrote this? And like, why is this even here? Like, So again, from a teacher's perspective, like I was probably like so annoying. And with my classmates, they were like, oh, like, Jared, can you just shut up now? And it would be like, no, like, I don't like, what do you mean? Like, and why? And so that's who I was in high school. And, it got to the point where I was very like, I'm going to be a lawyer, and then I'm going to be a judge, and then I'm going to be the first female Indigenous Prime Minister of Canada. Right. And it's funny because I speak about this when I speak across the world, if you will. And people are just like, yeah. And I'm like, settle down. Because it's not the role that I wanted, it was the impact that I wanted. And to be able to say things the way that I wanted to, and to impact people's lives, and to actually create initiative and drive in people, and for them to want to act, was what I wanted. But because I was this kid in school, they sent me to this conference where I was, because again, at that time I was very clear. I'm like, I'm going to be the Prime Minister of Canada. Like, it's only uphill from here, right? And so they sent me to this event where it was a week long, Parliament Hill, me and a bunch of other kids who were like me. And I think it was like the second last day. And again, I'm Indigenous, right? So I don't know if you know what it feels like to be plopped into a group of people who are rich, who are fancy, who have parents who actually feed them and take care of them and provide for them and actually pet them and say, oh, you're good things. I don't come from that world, right? Like, I'm very like, okay, this is what we're doing, right? Like, you get accustomed to pivoting and creating this facade of who you need to show up to be in this room and in this space. So I was very like, laying low and kind of observing, because that's how I like to be first. I'm like, okay, let me learn who the alphas are, and then I'm going to rise to the occasion, right? So it was the second last day. And of course, we were given an assignment. We're going to put you in groups. You guys are going to come up with a speech, a 2-minute speech, and you're going to present it at the House of Commons. Being Indigenous, they're like, there you go. There's your little token Indian over here in the corner with the other little Indians. And they're like, you're going to talk about Indigenous issues. Bang. And so we're, herded off into a room. And I'm like, of course. And there were 3 other students there. They were all from Nunavut. And, great people, just very quiet, very kind of like me, not sure, didn't know what to think. And they're like, oh, I thought like you were like from the city. And like, I thought that you were, because, first off, let me just say this. This was the first blazer I ever bought in my life. And I still have this blazer to this day. Like, I was like,
amazing.
yeah. Well, I roll up in this room with these kids, and they're all quiet. And again, being who I am, I'm like, all right, cool. This is what we got to do. What do you guys think? What do you guys face in your communities, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm not sure. And I'm like, okay, well, I pull out the whiteboard. I'm like, this and this and this. And they're like, yeah, us too, us too. And eventually we had a whole, script. And then I was like, okay, guys, listen, like, I'll do anything you want me to do, but I am not going to go up in front of all of those kids and say this speech. So one of y'all got to do it, And so we nominated this one guy. He's like, okay, I guess. So I was like, okay, here, take the paper, write up a speech tonight. We'll be cool. Great. Perfect. Done. We leave. I get up, being the keener that I am, get up there. Got there, I think maybe like 30 minutes early, and I was bored. Like, I was just bored. So I was like, wrote up a little measly speech, just because I was bored. The kid shows up, he has nothing. I'm like, what do you mean? And I was like, here, use this. And so it is our time. So this is timed out. It's very strategic. We went through all the different agriculture, education, like all the things. And it got to us. We were the last ones to present. It was right on the timing frame. And the kid literally got a standing ovation. All the people in the House of Commons and reporters and all of this like clout and attention. And I was just standing in the back like, and I beelined it to him, and I just took my speech out of his hand, and I was like, never again. And that for me was like, I always say that I have like a horseshoe in my butt, because It's always like I'm in the right place at the right time. And it's like, okay, Jehovah. Okay, Jehovah, I get it. I see you. Thank you. And it's just like, just rising to the occasion and seeing the lesson. And I think that one for me was like a huge one where just by being who I am, I was able to do something that was very hard and very scary and able to speak to things. And it wasn't like I even chose it. It was just something that chose me. And I just had to be myself in that space. And the responsibility to do that work because if I don't do it, who's going to do it? You know? So, and that experience happened in every space that I went into. So it's just like, okay, all
Oh, okay.
right. Yeah. Alignment.
Yeah, that's so you had that versions of that. That's a really very specific core memory. And like, I love the vehemence with which you were like, never again. Like, because in that moment, like, I'm not selling myself short ever again. Like, this is not, again, talking about agency, kind of giving away your own. And so you'd said, like, that's like lesson learned in a way. But, and what a way to learn it. I mean, I wonder now, like, with the amount of different creative ventures that you have, I feel like, have you been able to honor that, like, internal commitment, that promise to yourself ever since then?
Wow. Huge questions, Lance. Like, thanks so much.
All the soft,
Ah,
all the underhand, the real soft serve pitches coming your way today.
wow. No, that is just, I mean, I come across as a very assure person. I think sometimes people think it's conceited or egotistical or ignorant, but it's never that. I think I come across that way because I have done such like due diligence to understanding that I am nothing and everything all at the same time, and that I am an extension of the creator here to do a job for him. And that's all I am. And that to me is the biggest assignment of all. Like, if you don't know who you are, what your purpose is, and you don't have faith and belief in that space, your world is going to be like drastically different than somebody who has that. And again, like this is not something that was given to me. Like I didn't learn this. I think this was something that was kind of innate with me. I have this one story where my dad tells me that you were probably 5 years old and you wanted a bike and we bought you a bike and all day long you called me outside, Dad, come watch me ride my bike. And you started off small and you were all excited and Dad, look at me, look at me. And eventually you got so brave that you took your hands off the handlebars and you were like, Dad, look, look, look. And I was, my dad says that he was sitting out there and he's like, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. And lo and behold, I fell off. The bike was on top of me and my face was all scratched up. And I was sitting there on the concrete, just kind of crying and dusting myself off. And my dad came up to me and he's like, I'm taking this bike. You're not going to ride it anymore. And I was like, no, no, no. It's okay. I'm going to be okay. Like, I got this. And he said, like, you had such confidence in the way that you talked that I believed you. And I knew that you were never going to do it again. And he is like, it's hard to say that, like, to what, like, as a child, to know that a child knows what's best for them and that they know that they have the capacity to be able to get themselves through and have, so he was like, I knew that I could trust you at a very young age and that you had this difference about you, that you could do anything you wanted to do, right? And I think that um I fought with that a lot in my life because imagine not having a support system. Imagine not having, parents, and imagine not having a community of people that rallied behind you or that you even felt valuable in the world because of, like I said, the racism and all of the different things that I had to go through, to believe it was like, where do you even get that from, right? Like, what is guiding you, Jer? And honestly, it had to be creator, because there's absolutely no reason for me to have been the version that I showed up to be every single day when there was so much against me and would have broken, another person, and has and continues to, right? So for whatever reason, I had just a abundance of faith in myself. But that's not to say that that was constant, because just as much as I was proud of myself and happy and, persevered, I had doubts. I still struggle with it to this day. I am continuously at war with myself, of thoughts and feelings of inferiority and not enoughness and self-sabotage, and even just attitude and thinking stuff, because, like, again, you're told things so much over and over again, and it's reaffirmed everywhere you turn. Like, it's funny, you can see in the picture I have blonde hair, and I shared this with you. Like, imagine going to a grocery store and being followed around, um, just because you look a certain way or you're profiled, and not wanting to go places because you feel unsafe, or just being devalued. And like, all of that stuff, it takes a toll on your spirit. It takes a toll on, you know, um, just everything. And so I really struggle with that a lot in my life. And I think that that's like the human condition of, you have to be your own best cheerleader sometimes, and you have to dig yourselves out of depression and anxiety and not wanting to fight and not wanting to show up and not wanting to even show up, because it's scary and it's hurtful. And that sense of fighting for yourself, it's a lifelong journey, and I deal with it just as much as any other person. It's just that my purpose is that I know that there are people watching and waiting and betting on me to show up, so they can have the faith to also do that for themselves. So that weighs on me so much that I can't chill out. I can't. It's funny. I was on a date one time, and the guy was like, "Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I'm just sitting over here chilling. What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm writing my book, and I'm doing this and creating content and actually prepping for a presentation." And he was like, "Whoa." And I was like, "Well, yeah, someone's got to do it, because y'all are just chilling, right?" And then he blocked me. So, oops.
I can't imagine why. It's funny though. It's like an unapologetic amount of commitment to one's true self. You're going to shed people left, right, and center that weren't going to be adding too much to your life anyway. You just happen to do it quicker, I think. But it's also exhausting. Like for me, I'm very conflict averse. I don't think that I'm alone in that. I do admit it, and I understand why. I got my own shit. We all do. But I think that it's because we don't trust ourselves. And for you, you have had to bet on you at the table every single time, because you don't have the house to help back you up.
Exactly.
Is that fair to say?
100. Oh my goodness. Like, you hit is a nail on the head. What a nail. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But I had a brother of mine, not real brothers, but in Indigenous country, we take each other as cousins and brothers and all the things. But he was very dear to me. And, he was like, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I don't this and I don't that." And I was like, I don't know. He was just basically asking me something about like how I was the way that I was. And I was like, you know what? You have something to fall back on. You have your grandma to call. You have your dad to bail you out of a fire. You have somebody to call.
Mm-hmm.
I have no numbers. I have nobody to save me. I have nobody to call and to assure me and pat me on the ass and say, "Jerry, you did a good job." And so that level of like, it's sad, it's sad, because like, it's funny because like my mom would tease me. She's like, "Stop feeling sorry for yourself." And I'm like, well, who else is gonna, Um, But that's what it is.
Good
It's
one.
like nobody's coming to save me. And I have to be that for myself and for all these other people, like it's a huge ass responsibility that again, I didn't necessarily take on, didn't know. And it's huge because again, when you know you are the only person you can feel mad at or blame or point fingers to, the game's changed. Like there are no excuses. And that's why I think I come across as aggressive and hard and, you know, strict, I guess, that I do because it's like I have had to be this version for a very long time. And yes, I'm happy that you have those supports. I'm happy you have those resources. I'm happy you have that. That's great. I'm really happy for you. But for me, it was a completely different story. And I had to bet on myself, like you said, with every single thing that I had. And I had to go through the trenches to be able to prove my value and my truth and what I knew was possible of me. So yeah, like it's like I had every inch of my skin in the game and I had to bet on myself. My must score, which is basically like you got to do this. Doesn't matter if it happens. It was like 15. Let's go, you know? So, but just imagine how like ragged you would feel after that, right? So yeah, it's a different way of being for sure.
And it's an extension of, I mean, you're self-assured because you've done the work internally, I would say. And in order to make something, you need to break it down to its constituent parts, and that includes your identity, your creative aspirations. And when it comes to that, I think, I mean, there's just such a bevy of stuff to talk about, and I want to make sure that we have time to talk about it. So, like, one of them is you had an EP that you put out, same title as the book, both named Wild Woman, and the EP came out. It was I was just about to say 2020, and I want to make sure that I'm not messing that up.
Yeah, just in
Yeah,
COVID.
it
Yeah.
was.
Hmm.
I know it's just it's so one of those things where I'm like, there's no way it was 5 years ago. Yes, way it was 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Anyway, but feels like a lifetime ago. But then, and of course, the whole world's gone. So it's a completely, you were putting something out there. You had made something, and the entire world was breaking apart.
Hmm.
And I feel like now you're at it again. You're putting out a new release. You're waterfalling. There's been 2 singles so far. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And there's can I be her, and are you my type?
Yes. Yes.
That's right. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the inspiration and what's inspired like the new tracks, because there's more to come, right?
Yes. So if I were to like talk about that whole journey, I would have to start off at the beginning. And so again, you know, I grew up uh being the good girl, the first to show up, the last to leave, the one who would take care of everything, just because, again, I was always in a state of like proving myself and making myself be an accessory to things. Um, and again, I traveled the world. I spoke on stages. I had the most stick in the butt people dancing with me and celebrating with me. And, I sold books. I inspired people. I taught people how to write books and build businesses. And this was my job for a very long time. Before that, it was, I working for CDC, and working for an Indigenous organization in human resources. So that's my background. And it was always professional development. So again, imagine in that world, I was like, I'm not doing it anymore, right? COVID was a true blessing for me because it got me to sit down and focus on the things that I had always wanted to accomplish, which is my album, if you guys can see right here. Those are my eyes. That is me. And this book right here. So you can see that I was published in 2 books before this official book. But that was the time when I actually got to put these things out, right? So just imagine being and putting everybody in front of me and then being like, nope, this is me. I'm choosing me. This is me. I'm going to work the way that I work for other people, for myself. And so the way that the music came to be was that I'm a writer first. I have boxes and boxes of journals and entries and just everything that I feel. And so I had hired a music composer and I was like, basically, like, I want these lyrics to sound like this song, and did 5 ones like that. And that's exactly how the EP got written. But it was still in demo form. So the music composer gave me her demos and I was basically supposed to mimic, but she was like a classically trained singer and I'm definitely not like my yeah. So I had a group of incredible women and they were like, hey, they're giving out money to film a music video, we should apply, you have music, right? And I was like, yeah. And so it was Thursday and I needed to submit by Sunday. And so that whole week I must have cried 100 times. And it was just like trying to sound good, to like lay this on. I'm on my laptop laying vocals in the middle of the, like, it was insane. And I would just cry because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. And it came to be Sunday at midnight. And I was like, "Bunk, F it. I'm going to do it." Walked away. A month later, I won across like Canada, Western Canada. My song was #1. It got like $10,000 to film this music video. And out of that came the song Undeservingly. And like, what better song for where I was in my life? Like, the song is basically about how you give yourself to people and they're undeserving of you, right? Like, that's what Undeservingly is. Um, then after that, we did Dangerous, which is a Donna Summer, happy go lucky, our love. And that's the banger off that album. Like, that is the one that everybody loves. Then we had From This Day, which was written from my marriage vows, which I'm not married anymore, but the song is still great. Then we had Wild Woman, which is my whole brand and my whole identity. And I'll speak to that in a second, but yeah, that one was such a special one because I actually got to pay homage to all of the women in a visual representation in that video. So it's extremely close to me, and I love that one. And then we did From This Day, which is actually it's cool because it's like the most unfiltered version of myself. I say, yeah, I'm rough around the edges. I'm scary. I'm raw. You scream at the things that I've done. I've tangled with the devil in the throes of the night. I've cashed in on my beauty, my garden to be seen, but it's only made me harder, right? So like the lyrics are talking about my soul, you know? And again, we did a video for that one, and that again, just it's like this Billie Holiday 50s glam, that woman that I always wanted to be. Fast forward 5 years, we're here at the Can I Be Her? Now, Can I Be Her is again that permission slip. It's like me fighting so much and so hard to be this version of this woman that I've always wanted to be. There's a line in it that says, sitting pretty on my satin pink pillow. And it was like, imagine if I didn't have to work, or I had a man to take care of me, or people to take care of me and to love me and to let me be a feminine girl. What would that look like, right? That's what Can I Be Her is. It is an allowance to be feminine, to be needy, to be soft, to be sweet, to ooze femininity. That's what Can I Be Her is. And it is asking for permission, but it's also not at the same time. It's like, this is who I'm going to be and you're going to like it. And then the next song, which of course is Are You My Type? Man, that is my Aaliyah, sexy lowrider, Warren G regulators. Like, because again, there's so many different versions of Ger. I was again dating somebody one time, and the question was like, "So how would you explain Ger?" Well, she has at least 16 different personalities. And I'm like, yeah, that we've counted. There's probably more now, right? And so that's what all of my projects are songs and different masks that I wear, different armor that I put on, and who, depending on the mood or who I am that day, is how I show up. So that's what the music is. It's a physical manifestation of my heart, my emotion, my feelings, my pain, and I'm basically putting it on a platter for people to be like, here it is. Please don't hurt me.
It's so
Yeah.
well said because like there's such a vulnerability that you have to allow for in terms of. I mean, there's an excellent line from Shogun by James Clavell, and it's the idea that it's used in a shitty context at the time. It's like a colonizing Portuguese uh, you know captain of a ship explaining to this other English captain who's just shipwrecked in Japan, but he's talking about the Japanese, and it's a shitty thing to say, but the principle behind it still holds, and it's that people have three hearts or faces that they show. The first is the one that you show everyone. That's who you are everywhere. Second one is more private. That is for friends, family, loved ones. And then there's the third one, which ideally you always keep secret. And I almost liken that particular heart or face to like the core of the earth. Like, I don't know for 100% certainty, but I believe that it's like a rolling ball of like liquid magma. It's just so hot and so impregnable that you can't really touch it, right? That's kind of like what our private one is. So really it's a question of like, how do you navigate between those first two? And I think for you, what I'm hearing is that there is this constant shifting of gears, almost like you're driving stick constantly, because you have to control and allow for all of the attention to how you're being perceived, whether or not there's a dissonance between other people's expectations and who you are and what you're being. All of that is to say, like, I wonder if there's a moment where you feel the most you. And I know that's a tough question because, again, I'm just asking all the really fun, easy ones. What I mean is, like, I guess what I'm looking for is a way to help other creatives create a space for themselves where they're safe, but they're also able to be authentic and vulnerable and genuine. Because when you're just doing a persona all the time and you're always like on and big and you know what I mean, like it's exhausting as shit. And
I'm a
it's
show pony.
yeah, exactly. You get it. So like, so that it's not constantly a performance. At the same time, you don't want to like give your most private self. Like,
Oh,
it
yes.
seems like you would have the most insight. It feels like, but I'm not putting it all on you. I'm just wondering, like, if you could advise, if you could share some insight, if you have any to share. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that you've had it all figured out,
Yep.
but do you have that insight to share with creatives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's so interesting how, again, God works. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but his name is Jehovah, just so you know. But it's interesting how he works because I literally was in therapy just before this podcast and we were talking about this exact thing. And she broke it down to me so well. And I was like, ah, yes. So I luckily can pass that on to you now. So she talked about how we're always looking for a report card, right? When we were little kids, we went to our mom and dad and we're like, hey, if I do this, you'll like me. And oh, if I do that, I can earn this. And you do that in school. If I do all the good marks, I'll get all these different things. And we continue to do that through life and our relationships, in our jobs, and in our music, and all of it's always like, I got to check off that box to get that thing. Cause if that happens, then I'll be worth it. Then I'll know I made it. Right. And it's like, yes, that's all fun and stuff, but like the real conviction and the real contentment and fulfillment comes from the fact that you yourself are actually fulfilling that for yourself, right? Do we want to stop for a second? We have
Just
the.
for a second, oh my god. Hi, Chris. What the fuck? Yeah, hey, a guest appearance. This is the part where in a
Yay!
sitcom somebody would just go, yeah, like, yeah, we are. If you don't mind giving us 5 minutes to sign off, because I just got that last piece of heat. My God. No, no, that's fine.
Oh, okay. So we'll
So
just
this
cut it
is,
there then. Yeah.
yeah, we're, no, I'm going to edit. I'm going to edit around that.
Okay. Cool.
So let's return to
Hmm?
that thought. So
Yep.
you were just saying, and
Uh-huh.
so
Yep.
I'll
So
allow a little bit of tape in.
yeah. So basically, we go through all of these different the report card, right? In all of these different instances. And so instead of validating yourself on external things, it's actually going within yourself and understanding that that report card is the only report card that actually matters, right? So instead of, you know, it's funny because I said something back to my therapist and she was like, "You mean you think?" And I was like, "Yes, that's right. I'm thinking that. I'm not actually feeling that." And she goes, "Exactly. Because if you think about a homeless person who is sitting on the corner of the street and you ask them, do they feel content? Do they feel full? Do they feel happy? Most of them would say yes, because in their mind, they have utter faith in something, right? And here we are running around with chickens and our heads cut off, and we're trying to like achieve and be, and the likes and the clout and the money and the chains and the cars. And it's like none of that should even matter because you never wanted it in the first place. So like let's take us back to our home, like actual humanistic basic needs, right? What is it that you need to actually feel fulfilled and contentment? And so we talked about this and how it's called cognitive behavior therapy. And so our thoughts impact our feelings. Very, very important. Our thoughts impact our feelings. Our feelings impact our actions and behaviors. And then our behaviors impact our life circumstances. And that's circles. People will be like, well, I feel like this. And it's like, no, you actually just think that. And it's like understanding, oh, you're doing this to me and you're making me mad. No, you're just thinking that. Oh, this person just flipped me off in traffic and they made me pissed off. No, you're just thinking that.
Mm.
Imagine if you were to cut that thought off and be like, oh, that guy's such a sweetheart. Oh, that happened for me on purpose. Oh, thank you, God. There was going to be something that I didn't know that was going to. So again, it's literally choosing it. Well, you first have to understand how to get out of that cycle, right? So it's called somatic training. And this is something that I also practice. Let me just tell you, therapy saves lives. Like I wouldn't be as decent
Yes.
human being unless I've been in therapy like for 20 plus years. So make that like a priority in your life. But yeah, it's basically the way to get out of that state of like the negative, going to the bad part, the doom and gloom, is actually just stopping when it's happening. And you know how it feels when someone triggers you and you're like the rage, right? Like the red is coming on and you're like, I'm gonna kill somebody. It's stopping,
Hmm.
it's breathing, and it's not necessarily like even trying to be a problem solver, but understanding that we've built these things in our cognitive minds and bodies. I call them firefighters, right? So I have Ger the Hitler, assertive diplomat. I have Ger the baby that cries around and feels sorry for herself. I have Ger the educated person who's always trying to be right. I have Ger the lawyer who will fight you on anything and be right, right? Like I have all of these people, these personalities, if you will, these masks that I call on to get me through experiences in the past. They were there for a reason. We need these, right? To get through things. But we also have to understand that when we're trying to get over these things, it's understanding that those are past experiences and they're not really real. It's kind of like playing a movie over and over again and being like, that's what's happening here, when in reality it's not. We're not there anymore. So it's literally stopping. What am I actually feeling here? And what is the core of this? It's usually fear, right? Like I'm afraid to be seen a certain way or do something and not have it all together, whatever the situation is. And it's actually being with that feeling and being like, Ger, you're okay. We're not there anymore. I used to think that, but
That's
now I think this. This is where we are now. I love you. You're safe. We're okay. And that, just that little bit of like that petting, you're okay. We're okay. We're going to get through this. That will get you past that feeling. So then you can be mature and clear and have that conviction in yourself that you know what to do and you can do what's best for you while upholding your own dignity and the dignity of others. So if I could teach anybody, it would be that, which is we're all capable. We already know everything we need to know. We've always like have known it and we've always been it. It's just quieting the noise and understanding that it's literally just a battle of love and fear. And it's very cut and dry.
incredible.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. That'll be an insight that can help others. And I just have to thank you because having you on today has been like just a window into what it means to have grit and resilience. And I really appreciate your time and for being with us today. And it's been big for me having you on and finally being able to like platform you on this way. And it's been amazing. So thank you so much, Ger.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for the opportunity to be working with the team and again, just to be able to fulfill my role uh, of a light worker and a truth teller and to also pass the torch on to the listeners because of course, you know, we're all worth it at the end of the day. And I want you to succeed and I want you to be the best that you can be. So again, reach out to me, all of the things, Ger Carriere, Geraldine Carriere, or simply Wild Woman. So thank you so much.